This is Gus Summers, and you're watching In-Show Celebrities. This is the time I take every Monday to talk about some of my favorite films and actors. This week, we have one of Hollywood's greatest tough guys, Mr. Charles Bronson. This grand actor has been involved in some of Hollywood's greatest projects, from westerns to military movies, to the modern cop dramas. He was a staple of the tough guy, the one that gets the job done. Well, first up, we have the film that put not only Charles Bronson on the map, but so many other actors that established them as, the anti-heroes, the tough guys. The film I'm talking about, that's right, The Magnificent Seven. It's about a Mexican town that gets raided by Eli Wallach and his band of bandidos in Mexico. Well, the town decides to, get some men, go to an American town, see if they can buy rifles, ammunition to fight Eli Wallach. But Yul Brynner intervenes and tells them it's easier if you pay gunmen to go. So he starts getting all the men together, and of course one of them is Charles Bronson. He plays Bernardo O'Reilly. I love it because it's in his early career. His hair is still short. He has no mustache. He has that iconic early look of his. And when he gets to the town, with all the other people, all the other gunmen, everyone is drawn to different aspects of the town, and he is drawn to be like the protector of the children. He really grows to love them, and the children grow to love him. And a lot of you have already seen it. It's one of those films that was inducted to the Library of Congress as being culturally relevant, culturally specific, all this stuff. And as the movie progresses, they meet Eli Wallach, they fight, and so on and so forth. But what I loved about the movie is that each character, though they are portrayed as gunfighters, they all have hearts of gold. And in particularly, Charles Bronson. There's a fantastic scene. They're kind of waiting for Eli Wallach and everybody, and he's hiding behind like a little mound, little wall, and the kids are saying, "Wow, we want to be like you, Bernardo. You're our hero. You're so brave and so wonderful." And Charles Bronson turns to them, his Charles Bronson way, and says, "I'm not a hero. You don't want to be like me. Your fathers are the heroes. They're the ones that wake up every morning and try to put food on your table and try to protect you. They're the ones that doing all this. They're the heroes." I said, what a great line. What a for a young boy, just watching the film, hearing that someone that you would admire say, "I'm not the hero. Your father's the hero." Yeah, just a great scene. Fantastic. Another great movie, The Great Escape. He's a part of this grand cast. Steve McQueen, James Gardner, Richard Attenborough, James Colburn again, and of course Charles Bronson. It's about the infamous camp that the Nazis built to get all the prisoners who escaped, bring them all together. So they're all in one place. The Great Escape Artists, basically. And, Richard Attenborough, when he comes in, he's designated as the one who's going to coordinate all the escapes. So, for most of you who have seen it, they plan multiple escape routes, and they're going to tunnel through underneath the compound all the way to the forest. And the person's job to be in charge of the tunnel is the Tunnel King, Danny Charles Bronson. He has to be, and basically, the tunnel is basically shoulder length. You're only talking about, 3 feet by 3 feet, a small little tunnel. He has to go in there and dig and, pull the dirt out. They make this elaborate little rail car system where, you have to ride on your belly, and then you take out dirt, and then they pull you back. And like I said, he shares the screen with the other great talents. This is a big epic movie. But the thing about Charles Bronson, again, he has his his Charles Bronson look, no mustache, short hair. He's the tough guy. Very cool, calm the way he is. But when you see him on the screen, it's always, oh, hey, it's Charles Bronson. That's great. But what's interesting, and it's more of a real life fact than a favorite scene, is that he played the Tunnel King, right? He was actually claustrophobic in real life. So he was, making this movie having to deal with his issues of being claustrophobic. So it's pretty amazing knowing that he was actually really scared when he's in the tunnel and doing those things. So for me, it added to the scene and him as an actor, and shows you the strength of character of making sure that the scene got done, that he did his job. Just a fantastic movie. All in all, he's great as well. Another favorite movie of mine. It's called The Mechanic. He plays an assassin for an organization, and he does all their dirty work, and he gets these envelopes, and he sees who needs to be taken care of, and he goes on and takes the job. Well, the movie basically is that, and he kills one of his targets, who he ends up killing, has a son, and he takes the son under his wing, but it's really complex because the son doesn't know he killed his father, and the young son is a great actor, another great actor, Jan Michael Vincent. Again, he's one of those actors. He did great movies like Big Wednesday. He went on to do a great TV show in the 80s called Airwolf. He just had that young, arrogant, tough guy, because he was always really in shape, and and when he was younger, he was the arrogant guy, and as he got older, he became the quiet, stern, tough guy. But they matched each other perfectly, because Charles Bronson, he had that stoic look and very fit and strong, and here's Jan Michael Vincent, same thing. He's fit and strong, and he's a go-getter. Very very young man's attitude. Anyways, he has to. He starts to train him, and what happened is that the organization basically frowned upon that because they didn't give him permission to train Jan Michael Vincent. So there's conflict and all that. But there's this great scene early on when him and Jan Michael Vincent are talking. They're sitting in a restaurant, and Charles Bronson is telling him, basically, some of the tricks of the trade, and alluding to things. And he's talking about strength, being strong, and he always carried this little ball of wax. And Jan Michael Vincent they were talking about the ball of wax, and he tells him, well, this is the reason. And he reaches over, and there's a glass, champagne flute, puts his fingers in there, and goes, pah! He breaks it. And he's showing up, that you have to be strong, and this is why I do that. He's squeezing the ball to gain strength. I just remember that's a great scene. Thinking, what's he going to do? And clack, he breaks it. It's again, little things like that make Charles Bronson this iconic, just tough guy, strong guy, who a character that is not only a great ensemble actor, like you saw in these other films, The Magnificent Seven and The Great Escape, but also could carry a film by himself. And it's difficult a lot of times where the tough guy can carry a film, because it becomes brooding after a while. But he was just a movie star. Fantastic. And those are just just a few, because you could still talk about the Dirty Dozen. You can talk about over the rest of the military films, the westerns, Chico, if I remember correctly the name. But of course, now I'm going to bring you to one last film, into more of his modern dramas. Of course, I'm talking about the great film Death Wish. He plays Paul Kersey. He's a New Yorker, and he has his wife and his family, and it's the film is one of those films that's basically timeless. Basically, you can drop that story, today, and it still be relevant. He's a white collar worker, and he goes home to discover that his wife and daughter were brutally assaulted, and it's the aftermath from that. He becomes a man who takes justice into his own hands, and it's a sad movie, knowing that that's the reality of things you have to be careful about. But always, one of the things that it adds to it was that you think it won't happen to you, and that's kind of sad. And here it is. It happens to him, and his response to it, and he becomes the vigilante. We a lot of us have seen it and know the film, but there's this one scene where he's beginning to get into this vigilante stage, and he buys these roll of quarters, and he's back in his home, and he's looking at them, and he puts them in a sock, and he's trying to figure out how he can do it, and he's spinning it, and he's you see him getting angry, and they hit the couch and they explode, and he's just having this moment. It was just one of those great scenes. Here he is by himself, not saying anything, but the scene speaks volumes. Again, a grand actor. But that's only taking you into the 70s. From the 60s and 70s, he was still making movies in the 80s. Action films. He was an action star when Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger were coming up as action stars. He was doing action films as well. Again. And a grand actor. And even when he got into the 90s, he was still making films. Grand actor. Again, the films, of course, The Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape, of course, Death Wish, and The Mechanic. I can also go on, Mr. Majestic, all these great 70s movies. He's definitely someone that if you haven't seen his movies in a while, again, they're there, and you'll be exposed to so many other great actors as well. Well, that's what we got for you today. This is Gus Summers, and you're watching In-Show Celebrities, and this is the time I take every Monday just to talk about, the films that I enjoy and actors that, that I just find fantastic. And of course, remember, don't forget to visit us every Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I host when I host the In-Show, and that's when I bring in celebrities, guests, all sorts of people to talk about their films, their projects, whatever it is that they're doing. You can visit us at theinshow.com and just click on the top where it says listen live. And of course, visit us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Flickr, Instagram, all those great social media sites. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, Gus has left the building.